Hello, everyone. Ooh, it's actually kind of loud. Oh well, we'll work with it. Yeah. So welcome to the late night show match, impromptu show matches. The first show match we have today will be Game Time, or no, sorry, will be I was right. Game Time versus Pokebunny. Best of 5. Yes. Yeah, it's gonna be a best of 5. And you can actually check the Team Liquid post or whatever, the calendar to know exactly what. But to recap really quickly, it's gonna be Game Time versus Pokebunny, then Panda Baby versus Puck, and then Jon Snow versus P later on off the night. And the whole reason for this is because with, Rifkin's accident and whatnot, we didn't really get to advertise this little thing. There we go. Off to the side. For the Ting finals. So it was actually really cool. We had an idea to go ahead and do like a bracket prediction game, but unfortunately when everything finally was set up and ready to go, we were like, well, I guess we'll wait for the next cast, and then, well, our next cast was after Rifkin, broke both of his arms. So, unfortunately, things didn't really get followed through. And we just figured, why not also have a little, show match to fill the downtime between the last cast and the weekend's casts of Ting with, a couple of North American themed stuff. Because, of course, this contest is only for North Americans. But if you type !Ting contest, one word, then you can find out more and actually go there. And I'll actually do an example. I'll coin flip. I'll actually do an example run through really quickly once I get them doing their vetoes. Once that's done, I'll actually get the monitor up. Okay, it's tails. Pick A or B. Alright, and that should get them nice and set up to do that. So as you can see, I'm solo, by the way. There's no one else here except the Ting image. So I'll probably be solo for the Ting cast this weekend as well, which might make people really happy or make them really sad, or just, maybe the preferred, co-caster. I don't know. We tried to get a couple of people, but things just kind of fell through, I believe. So that's kind of unfortunate. And let's go ahead and show off the actual way to do things, because I think I should enter as well. Why not? Right? Let's go ahead and monitor capture, because window capture doesn't work. T-dubs. Whatever. Let's make this a little bit smaller, so you can kind of see me. Yeah, sure that works. There we go, blow it up. Alright, so here it is. Predict the top 4 of the Ting Open 2 and win. And they already, just put in their name. An email that you don't mind being used. Okay, so here, I guess they have a nice little link for you to go see, like, what exactly has happened and who are in the semifinal, which is very useful. And then you actually get to place your predictions. So, of course, I'm going to say that Bjorn's going to be first place. I don't think he'll make second, third, and fourth. Although, I mean, he's that good, maybe. For second place, I'm going to go with Patience, actually. And then there is actually a third and fourth place match that's happening on Sunday as well. So you can predict that as well. I'm going to go with Solar above Bly. Sorry, Bly. How many maps will be played in the finals? Oh, okay. I actually didn't know this existed. Hold on there. Hold on. How many maps will be played in the finals? Best of 9. If I think it's going to be Bjorn versus Patience, I'm actually going to go with 6. I think that Bjorn either dominates or he gets, like, pretty dominated, to be honest, because he's having trouble versus Protoss. How many maps we played in the third place match? 2. No, I think 3. Yep. Third place match is a best of 3, it's not very long at all. A current customer? No, but soon. Select the contract. Or, well, technically both of those. Yay, Ting! Okay, I accidentally pressed it twice, but I'm pretty sure that actually worked. Alright, so that was really easy, and it's just a little fun thing, and you can get a lot of prizes if you do it. So if you're a North American resident, you're actually in North America, I suppose, then definitely check it out. And looks like they're just about ready with their vetoes, so I'll go and get this set up. So it's going to be Apotheosis, Galactic Process, Frost, Frozen Temple, and Dasan. Oopsie-daisy. Blizzard maps and ladder maps. No. How about my most recently played bookmark? There we go. Alright. There's been a lot of resubs while we were getting all set up, so let's quickly shout them out. Girthang 3019 resub for 17 months. Solidus Dub resubbed for 30 months. Daisiode has resubbed for 19 months. Knutir resub for 10 months, and El Bracho has resub for 19 months. Thank you all very much. And if you said anything, unfortunately, it does get lost with Twitch alerts. So last I see is El Bracho saying thank you. Oh, thank you. Damn, Archon being default. This is the worst. This is bullshit. This is unacceptable. Thank you, Geist, for the 13-month resub. Love me some Zombie Cast. Oh, thank you. Pokebunny was on his barcode, you know, because he was super for cereal on his stream, facing against Avillo, actually. Ha! Some serious, like, Nova, you know, secret-like. Has anyone else been getting that, I guess it's a bug, but it'll tell you that StarCraft 2 isn't working. Or, well, I guess Battle.net in general isn't working, and then you just re-sign in again, and it's like, yeah, okay, just kidding, I was fine. I think that might have been what happened to him. Alright, let's get him on here. Alright, now they're both in here. This is on Central. And they're both ready. Let's get into the game. So again, just some impromptu show matches, you know, not the biggest deal in the world, not like grudge matches or anything like that, but they're fun enough, you know, they're equally skilled, they got a little bit of backstory. Fear Dragon helped me yesterday just compile together some good matches and get in contact with the players, because of course he's all about the NA scene. Unfortunately, couldn't cast today because he had set up to go to a wedding long before all the scheduling went down, so unfortunately that's also why he's missing the Ting finals. I'd love to have him there, but unfortunately it just, you know, didn't quite work out that way, so womp womp. But this is to kick off the show matches. We'll have two more after this. Versus the TvZ. In the bottom right, as the Yellow Zerg, he is GameTime. And in the top left, with a little bit of cheese, it is Pokebunny. So as always, if any of the players are streaming, which Pokebunny happens to be, we do say that, like, feel free to go watch him and you know, have fun and watch his first-person perspective, but don't come back here with spoilers. It will be instantly banned. It's a pretty hard and fast rule, so don't do it. It's pretty easy not to do it, to be honest, and if you really think about it, it's kind of a, you know, douchebag move to do, even if you aren't necessarily doing it out of, like, malice. Just think about it for a second, you know? But yeah, we have a delay. It's up to Pokebunny if he wants one or not. Unfortunately, it looks like GameTime already gets a scout with the first Overlord on these barracks. He could have put him down here, and the second Overlord might have scouted him, but even then, that might not have happened, especially because of the way the GameTime seems to have sent his Overlords. So that is a little unfortunate. It is with a gas. We look back here, yeah. And That means it's gonna be Reapers. So a 2-Rex Reaper, no, wait a minute, that's a 3-Rex Reaper. Okay, so I was gonna say, like, a 2-Rex Reaper is like, whatever, but a 3-Rex Reaper is pretty dedicated. I mean, a Proxy 2 or 3-Rex are both pretty damn dedicated, but of course this is still further setting off any macro, you know. Fair Dragon's not casting his beautiful NA babies, is how he put it. That's a little weird. But you do you, man. You do you. I've seen on their clan tags, you know, they're both on Team Ascension, which is pretty cool. I don't know how much they practice together, but they seem pretty friendly when I put them in a Skype group, so I don't think they hate each other. That's the good news, right? This is a little bit bold. This is like, man, I really wish this will work, but it probably won't. But if it does get up, that was one of the worst grenades I've ever seen, and I throw some pretty bad grenades in my own gameplay. If it does get up, that's a Healy hut, so that would be really, really helpful. Probably should have targeted the SCV first, but to be honest, that was enough lings to kill the bunker anyway, so oh well, big deal. But that was like, it's a little scary, you know? Because what if the second Reaper comes in 2 seconds earlier and throws grenades down? You might not kill the bunker and the SCV actually, you know, finished it and they're gonna repair it, so a little dangerous. But so far things have not snowballed in either direction. The bunker really was just like, man, I hope I can get this, but it's not an essential part of the build. Same with this bunker, which again, the SCV should be targeted. There we go. Nailed it. That is gonna be quite a lot of Reapers soon. Of course, 3 at a time. Orbital finally coming up. It's a lot of lings on the way, and they will eventually have speed. By the time they have speed, however, there's gonna be, what, 7 Reapers? 5, about 8 Reapers, actually. Oh, maybe even more. Speed's still, like, 10 seconds off. Point is, that's a lot of Reapers, and they can take on, with decent grenades, they can take on lings. At some point, Game Time probably should have thrown in a Ravager. Well, yes, a Ravager, but more importantly, a Roachborn to turn Roaches into Ravagers. And that would have given him a little bit more room here, because their range literally just outranges a Reaper, so. Things are starting to snowball, but maybe if the grenades ever miss, or actually, no, alright, yeah, I definitely called it too soon. The grenades, you know, see all the splash damage on those lings going down, that can seriously snowball, but the lings ended up taking out quite a few Reapers. They're about to take out 2 more. Oh, think of that last one. That was almost all of Game Time's lings here, but he's got 60 more in the way. He still has a couple of queens too, and I think Pokebunny actually lost 1 too many Reapers. If I had to be specific, I'd say he lost about 5 too many Reapers, as the snowball effect is really reset here. He's actually building another barracks back home, which seems very almost unnecessary, but now all he can really do is try and take out more and more lings. You know, if he was on the edge and those grenades happen and then he leaves afterwards, Game Time is in a ton of trouble because those Reapers don't die. But here and now, that actually went in favor of Game Time, that engagement. And that can sometimes happen, you know? Sometimes speedlings are the answer, but it just is a very, like, it definitely relies on the Terran being a little too overzealous or straight up miss-microing, as opposed to Ravagers, which literally stop the Reapers from attacking into you. I mean, the problem with Ravagers is that they still can't attack, you know, the Terran. They can't walk across the map because grenades are too good. But at least they stop you kind of full force. And speaking of walking across the map, we do have a lot of lings on their way over. There's no wall off, and that might just be game. That's a lot of lings. The SCVs cannot take it on. The barracks probably could have walled off, but even then, I think the Reapers dying as they did in that last engagement really was the deal breaker. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's about it. The lings are getting cleaned up anytime soon. Even if this Reaper pops out, he's got to control that plus these Reapers, which have already been dying. So he's probably going to lose more than one in that attempt. Yep. 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 Game Time, I guess, at some point, maybe he could have mis-macroed and stopped injecting, and maybe that's what Pokebunny was hoping for, like suddenly only 6 lings are reinforcing instead of 16. But that really did never happen, which is kudos to Game Time for that solid defense, macro-wise. Again, the unit choice can be iffy in the hands of, like, you know, against Beyond Reapers or Euthermal Reapers, but they worked this game. So that was pretty good. And he certainly won. Yes, he's actually made it across the map. Look at that. Who would have thunk it? Not very helpful. In fact, they're just going to eat the grenades along with the lings. So, yeah, not too worth here. These lings can come back and start taking out the reinforcements before they get to the front lines. Pokebunny's really got to make miracles happen with the Reapers he has right now. And, you know, it's always, like, so close to him getting back up to almost above, like, 8 or 7. And then he'll lose 1 or 2. Okay, I'll try to queen for it, but there we go. GG! Game time. We'll take game number 1. What's all the Reaper all-ins, man? They're good. I don't know what to tell you. They can really work. They can really do stuff. Let's see. What is the second map here? Galactic Process. Another good map for Reaper all-ins, so hey, maybe. I did check out Pokebunny's stream when I heard that he was facing a Villo before this, just to make sure that he was close to finishing. And he was. He actually won the game. Spoiler. Okay. Game time needs a second. And I saw that he was actually, he had a donation goal for Montreal, $200. So I'm sure he'd be very happy to win the 75 for the first place. That is the split today, by the way. $100 total for each show match and a $75, $25 split between first place and second place. Again, not the biggest deal in the world, but just a little something to tide you guys over until those Ting finals, which will be hype as shit. I mean, Beyond versus Bly, you know, you might say, like, Beyond's gonna win, no problem, but then you said the same thing about Neeb versus Bly, and Bly 3-0'd Neeb. And then Solar versus Patience is just a really good, like, Korean ZVP. I know Patience just did really well, which definitely influenced my decision in that bracket bracket contest, so I think it'd be pretty cool. And, I want to add on one thing that maybe influences your own bracket predictions here, but Bly is in Shanghai right now, participating in the NSL, which I believe he's still in. Yeah, I think he won his group second place, at least. So he's still in it, which, you know, even if he wasn't, he'd still be in China, right? So there might be a little bit of a complication, either, you know, a bit of delay as he, like, has to run back to his hotel room, or if worst scenario, you know, worst case happens and he actually cannot play, like, it's literally the lag is too bad, or, like, he actually, like, isn't here, you know, contacting me, then Neeb is on backup. Only seems fair to give the backup position to the person that, you know, the guy beat to get there, which was Neeb. So Neeb already confirmed that he'd be ready to do that, so that might, you know, mess a little something up, but hopefully Bly can find something steady to play on. You know, hopefully hotel internet is good or something. I don't know. At the venue. Galactic Process. There we go. He likes the 3-Rax Reaper on Apotheosis, which is not the best Reaper map. I mean, you gotta consider how far away it is from your main, so you gotta get the SCV down there, and then if you do want to macro out, the barracks, they go so far back home. And then, of course, there's not a lot of jumping up spots for the Reapers. Galactic Process is, like, the opposite of that, okay? It's, like, it's a fairly short map, although not the shortest that we have, and there's tons of room for cliff jumping. So I wouldn't even mind to see, like, you know, like, one of those... I guess there's not really a lot of macro-oriented Reaper rushes, but there can be. Like, you know, back in the day, in the beginning of Legacy of the Void, it actually was very standard to have, like, 2 or 3 Reapers back at home and then into a macro game, because that was a silly point in StarCraft history. But anyways, it's not happening. Never mind. It's not happening. Pokebunny not doing it. But in the top right, since these are players, he's now up 1-0. It is game time. And in the bottom left, just the racks at home, it is the Purple Terran Pokebunny. So I guess a little background on these players, as that last game started off so quickly, I really couldn't, say anything as to, their scores or their history or just like who recognizes who. I'm sure a lot of you probably like recognize Pokebunny just because he's been a name for so long in StarCraft 2. I mean, he was never the biggest name, right? But he was fairly consistent for a North American player, and he was consistent back at a time when North American players weren't just like, who, right? Like, they kind of are now. You have to be very, very good as a North American player to have your name be remembered, like Masa or Neve or Scarlet or something like that. 6 years ago, you just had to be a good player. The Koreans had yet to invade, basically. They were actually invited over, but still, whatever. And people actually were cheering for their hometown heroes when it came to brackets at MLG, and it was very exciting. And Pokebunny was, I'm not sure about like exactly 2010, but definitely when I was first getting into StarCraft 2 esports, which was like 2011, I knew his name. So I think it's been quite a while. He's been through a lot, and he still plays. He's not tip top like those people I just mentioned, but still a pretty good Terran. Game Time I actually know a lot less about, and I think I saw a couple of people in chat also being like, who exactly is this guy? I'm sure Fear Dragon would love to give you a rundown of exactly his playstyle and why he's good and why you should pay attention to him. That Reaper grenade ended up helping Pokebunny. I don't think that was intentional. But I honestly can't. Game Time is a name that I've seen in a couple of different brackets, obviously, for North American tournament qualifiers, as, the new WCS system does make it a little more hopeful for North American players to actually get to events, but I don't really see him so far down the path most of the time. I think he's had 1 or 2 decent runs, but again, not anywhere near the North Americans that you guys are usually watching. Who are all in Korea now, coincidentally. Well, not Masa. But he is Korean, so does that count? I don't know. And we actually have a 3CC, by the way, and a 3CC on location for Pokebunny while this happens. That's bold! Game Time scouts it, and while he gets his own third, this doesn't... this is such a quick scouts that he could maybe try and do something like a Ling Baneling all-in, or like, throw in a Roach Warren. I think the timing's a little bit weird for that. Okay, bye, Reaper. The timing's a little bit weird for that, but you could do maybe a little bit later, like get to Mutas, if that's a style you want to play, but don't upgrade and do an all-in or something like that. I mean, honestly, unless you can punish it fairly early, the third CC is going to, start paying for itself. And if you wait too long, then they've already, got their production and got their tech and whatnot, and you're, kind of out of luck here. But it's almost like you see like a fast third Nexus or a fast third CC, and you're just like, oh, you son of a, I gotta punish you somehow. Even if your punishment fails, you're just like, well, I tried because you were a little greedy little shit. I hope I gave you a lot of trouble. That's the feeling I get, anyways. I mean, I might be totally crazy. I was quickly trying to look up their game history, but, there's really not history between these guys. Not enough to be recognized by a Lilac, anyway, which picks up most stuff, but I gotta consider there's a couple of, like, Go for StarCraft Point dailies that they don't pick up, or just, like, like these show matches, I don't know if they're really gonna pick this up, like, something like that. And, of course, Ladder, I'm guessing they've played each other before in Ladder, and, being the same team, so... I don't know what they're looking like, but Pokebunny went from drastically aggressive with a 3-axe proxy Reaper to drastically greedy with a third CC on location. I actually like this heavy variety of play. Variety, did I make up a new word? This heavy variety of play. Especially if you're against someone that either knows you too well or you think you don't stand that good of a chance against. I don't actually know if that's his thought process. But I think the two extremes can net you leads or games where otherwise maybe that wouldn't happen. Because, contrast this with Bjorn, who always goes for that faster second racks with the fast 16 Marine drop. He'll do that every damn game, and it's such a solid build you can't really punish him for it that much. But you also can't help but also take damage from it because Bjorn is like, that good. But something like a fast third CC can actually really accelerate you, give you that push that amongst, someone who's going for 2cc into slow 3rd cc is really not that powerful, but suddenly 3rd cc so much earlier actually makes it a lot more powerful. I mean, think back to any of those times. I remember this very distinctly. Parting versus Flash, it would happen quite a few times. Get this fast 3rd Nexus, and you think the Protoss would die. They don't, because the Terran doesn't scout it or something like that. And then they just steamroll with Gateway units, which back in Heart of the Storm was actually really hard to do if it wasn't a Blink all-in. Those types of games are like, the showcases the power of extreme greed, and getting away with extreme greed. Talking all about Pokebunny though, and honestly, game time, he didn't have to punish the greed so much because he also went for his own fairly quick 3rd base. Oh, pick up! Not the best. And also pretty damn quick 4th base. You know, his Aspire's only just on the way, but his 4th base already trying to mine. That's pretty bold. So, it's one of those situations where it's not someone punishing the other, but just matching the other or trying to. And it's not looking so bad, but where are the Banelings? Okay, they just formed. He does have enough lings for this. The tank isn't in the most abusive position, and it's not focus firing on the Banelings! Ah! Medevacs are gonna take out that, or shoot, the Queen is going to take out that Medevac. He's not careful. Oh my goodness, 6 health. Oh, Jesus. But that doesn't bode well for Pokebunny, who just gets pushed back, almost easily. Did some damage to that hatchery, but not really. Second attack might be better, especially if these tanks can get into a more abusive position. But 1-1 isn't done, Combat Shield isn't done, he's falling actually very far behind in those upgrades. Despite it was a fast 3rd cc, I think his engineering bays weren't that fast. So it wasn't like the greediest thing we've ever seen. And that was just outpaced by GameTime, who did find ways to sneak in a couple of different things. And now he's gonna have mutas. You know, the thing he gave up to get all of this, the 4th base and the double upgrades, the amount of Banelings he had, was later mutas. You know, 4-base muta is not usually what's going on, but they're out now, and just sheer numbers on the ground seems to be enough. He's trying to retreat, and Pokebunny's, you know, for now standing strong with his army supply, but those Banelings are about to roll in, the tanks are dying, and that supply is just going to start to dip. You know, now it's mostly in Medevacs, and Pokebunny was probably, I'd say more so than any other, like, you know, thing, like the upgrades or just, you know, sheer numbers. I think he was a little overeager to punish that 4th base, so you start rallying. When sometimes, as a Terran, but I guess any race, sometimes it's better to just, you know, consolidate and wait back at home and then do a bigger push. Because, you know, the power of one tank earlier sometimes is just not as good as 5 tanks later, right? Or especially with 1-1 and all that. Now, unfortunately, GameTime has shoved Pokebunny all the way back home. He really knows that he has a lot of time to get to Hive, so of course he starts Invitation Pit, which is perfectly, I think, viable here. He's got a 5th base already done, which probably should have been a macro hatchery, but he also has a macro hatchery, so, you know, whatever. Works. And while the Liberators are coming out now to deal with the mutas, at this point, honestly, the mutas are kind of, they're done with, really. There are some Zergs, especially in Korea, that will stay on Muta Ling Bling forever. You know, like they're playing Heart of the Storm and they forgot that Ultras were a thing. But you know, a lot more Zergs are either trying to immediately get up to Ultralisk, as we all know, or are very much so looking for that point in time where they can get to Hive. They're not being stubborn, staying on Muta Ling Bling, and I'm glad to see GameTime was looking for the opportunity, because it's probably going to net him a win in a safer manner than just all-inning repeatedly with Muta Ling Bling, even with, you know, better upgrades and better army supply. That's a lot of lings. The Marine splits have got to come down. They have enough room to come down, but they're not happening. Just stutter stepping for now. Splits are, I mean, unfortunately, it was kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation right there. If they split the lings around with their better upgrades, they're just going to tear down those Marines, hold them in place anyway for the Banelings, and if you stay clumped together, well then, that's where the Banelings come in. But it looks like Pokebunny is just going to be demolished here. He's going to try and pick up and go into that main base, but the 3rd base is now going to be forfeit. And there's really not a lot he can do. He's got a 4th base here, but his macro has slipped a little bit, spanking 1,000. And GameTime, yeah, I don't think he has to retreat. I think he can win. I guess he's run out of banelings, so he's going to be a little bit more careful. We have a couple of Corruptors now on the way to deal with the Liberator problem. We have a Hive, well, we have a Hive, but no Ultralisk Cavern yet. Proudly saw the opportunity to win the game and decided they didn't have to, but now that he hasn't quite won the game, throw it on the Ultralisk Cavern, I guess? Put on your additional gases at the very least, because game time is a little bit low on that. Killed over 30 SCDs in that attack, leaving with Pokebunny with only 37. He does still have all 4 bases, but not that much of an army to help out. And that's just about game, yeah. Pokebunny, he might have been able to get to 3-3 faster, which is very typical of like old school TvZ, which is kind of was. But he was, I think, well, besides getting pushed back at every turn, I think he was, again, just overeager to try and deny his opponent. Honestly, the timer that's in Terran's heads for Ultralisk is pretty scary. And sometimes it's good to have that timer, and sometimes it's like the worst thing in the world to have that timer, to be so reluctant to get to late game, or so, you know, scared of Zerg late game to continue pressuring is just actually worse off than if you had turtled yourself. Not, you know, a Villo mech turtle, but waiting until a certain supply, getting a 4th base, you know, quicker than maybe your average game, that type of thing. Might have gone better. I'm gonna go ahead and throw in a quick ad while we get this 3rd lobby set up. So thanks for watching, everyone. Remember to type !ting contest and enter if you're North American based. Hey, welcome back. Not missing much, just the start of the game. In the top right on Frost, in the lead, 2-0. He is the Yellow Zerg. Game time. In the bottom right, as the Purple Terran, he is Pokebunny. Give shoutouts to Geist for the 13-month resub and Ness 8-bits, which I always misread at first, so Super Nintendo. Woo! Or the regular Nintendo, actually. Resub for 18 months. Thank you so much for coming out and chilling and whatnot. Just a couple of show matches, but while this one might end early, depending on how Pokebunny can recover mentally as well as in his, you know, actual gameplay, the next series should be pretty good. Next matchup will be... Oh, hold on, I was reading... Panda Bear Me versus Puck. That should be pretty good. Of course, I thought this one would be pretty evenly matched, and while again Pokebunny could bring it back, it seems that his TvZ is a little bit off. The CVT looks great. I'll throw that out there. Of course, watching his stream against the Villo, he looks really fine. But having a lot of trouble versus game time, and it could be like a teammate thing. It could just be like this is a type of style that you are not comfortable playing against, and it could be that he tried 2 very extreme things. Both didn't work out, and he's gonna go kind of back to basics and actually have a more confident-looking game. I'm not sure. That last game, you know, the fast 3rd CC, but then the slower upgrades, you know, that almost full-on greed, but not 100% full-on greed. I don't think that was the... I like the idea of extreme greed. I wish he had actually just gone through with it entirely, like really held off any aggression. Yes, Game Time recognized that he was holding off on any aggression and got his own leads, that 4th base super quickly, his own upgrade super quickly. I think that Pokebunny should have just kind of kept matching each other, you know, like, you know, no rush 12 minutes and then hope it works out better for you with your control. Because you still get a very good army if you have to be passive. And of course, you know, dropping and all that still exists, but... Oh, never mind. I was gonna say, oh look, he's gonna do like the Beyond build, which everyone calls it the Beyond build, I think because he does it so often. I don't think he actually made it, but he does it almost every single game. But no, this is a little bit different. Second Barracks is coming down faster than, you know, it could be. Could be a lot slower than this, but it's not the faster stim followed with those double medevacs. This actually might be some type of tank push? Tank pushes are very... They're more miss than I think they are hit, to be honest. And by tank pushes, I mean like specifically designed 2-base tank push builds. Obviously, you know, 50 supply of bio and 4 tanks is a tank push because it has tanks, but that's a lot different than something that is specifically trying to hit with a certain number of tanks and find abusive positioning. You know, if you have 60 Marines and a single tank, even if it is being drop microed, it still doesn't have that same presence as if you had just waited a bit longer. We'll see how it looks, and if he even does it, I mean, this also could be just one of those, like, safe, standard builds that he likes to do. It gives you a good number of Marines, Hellion's kind of a thing with pass most of the time, it gives you a very secure tank, and you don't have to worry about a lot. But Game Time, as we saw last game, has no problem not applying pressure. He is not the one that is scared of letting Terran get out of control. He's the one that, you know, probably is the scary one to Pokebunny. Now, this is just a single tank job. I guess he did this last game a little bit. It didn't really do a whole lot because a single tank job doesn't do a whole lot. Just, it never really did. Past the first month or two of Legacy of the Void, to be honest, when everyone was like, oh my god, tank job's so overpowered, whatever. Then people started adding a second tank, and that looked okay. But then the Queen range came into effect, and to be honest, the double tank pressure was already falling off by that time. I think that it just, it's not that great. This actually might get a Queen, though, and that's better than I expected, so kudos. We do have double melee upgrades. Or double upgrades with melee, is a better way to put it. So, Game Time, like in that Mutiling Bling style, likes maybe the Korean style, I guess it can kind of be dubbed, even though there are some foreigners doing it. It is typically a lot more seen in Korea. Just a single engineering bay. I wonder if he's going to add 2 more barracks or a 3rd command center. He is pushing here, and you know, the most important thing about a tank drop, and this has always been the case, when it was strong, when it was weak, whatever, is that you keep it alive. Both the medevac and the tank are way too important to lose. If you're going for a 3rd CC or if you're going for a follow-up push, both are just, it's too important. So, unfortunately AI'd a little bit on. This could have been a problem, but Game Time, you know, is not doing anything, so, okay. He'll live. Baneliness is pretty late. You know, it's, Baneliness has been getting greedier and greedier since, well, basically the dawn of Legacy of the Void. Seems to always be almost as the lair finishes, or even 30 seconds after the lair finishes. It was a bit sooner beforehand. And without Banelings, suddenly the Marines look quite strong. I'm not sure where Game Time took this engagement, really. That was just... Once he realized the Marines were going to be up against a wall, should have backed off. Backed off to what? That's questionable, because there still aren't any Banelings, but still, that went really, really badly, and maybe, yeah, Pokebunny found the special timing. I mean, a 2-base attack against someone who's being greedy like Game Time, absolutely great idea. Like, no, he should have done something like that. But the tank push is where I'm kind of like, sometimes I watch those tank pushes happen, and they just, it's like... But, you know, granted it is against people who are going for roaches more often than not, because we cast a lot of European stuff. So it actually ended up really working out. Even if the Baneliness was done in time as he realized the build and how fast it would be hitting, tank focus fire, marine focus fire, because you don't have that many Banelings early on, could have still dealt with it. So kudos to Pokebunny, who will take us to the 4th map, which is going to be Frozen Temple. Did I miss anyone while I was gone? Nope. See if we're ready. This is being played on Central Server, by the way, for anyone who's curious or is waiting to throw excuses out or something like that. So it's I think preferred for both of them, or close to it. Actually, the one good thing about Bly being in China is that he is going to play on the Korean server. So they don't have to flip between Korea, Europe, or play only on NA. Which Beyond really didn't want to do. Alright, Frozen Temple, 4th map. In the bottom right, still up, 2-1. It's the Yellow Zerg Game Time. In the top left, as the Purple Terran, he is Pokebunny. So I was a little afraid to try another 3 racks. He's had 3 good maps for it now, including this one, but only did it on the one that was, you know, arguably the worst for it. Probably as a surprise factor, which I think is fine, but it didn't work, so, you know, you always kind of regret it. But no, I think what is more likely, or a better idea, just objectively, is looking at that last game with that tank push and seeing how well that did, and trying to replicate something like that. As I went over in the last game, GameTime is not afraid to match greed with greed, and he's not the one that feels pressure to, you know, attack or harass or anything like that. He was fine macroing, and it was Pokebunny that messed him up. So now he's going to have to change the slightest bit, whether that's an earlier Baneling Nest or switching up styles or something, because Pokebunny, he's probably going to be looking for another opportunity like that, you know? Unfortunately, the Reaper Scout can't really survive long enough to see how they're getting their Baneling Nest, unless it's like a 2-base Baneling all-in. And you don't really ever use scans, or want to use scans, until it's Hive time. So he probably won't be able to be like, oh, he's definitely going to use Baneling Nest like really, really late, so I definitely should go for this build. Because GameTime should be a little more careful with that timing, but that is kind of up to GameTime to be a little more careful with that timing. Pokebunny's build last game could have been macroed out of. It also could have been upped in the aggression with more barracks. That's kind of the beauty of the, what do people, you know, say the Beyond build is that, I don't really see it here, I believe. If this is, technically you can build the barracks before Supply Depot. It's like a very, like, small thing. Okay, it's not, never mind. It's actually going to be a bio-based build entirely here. So not the quickest medevacs whatsoever, but a lot of bio to work with for sure. I wonder why he prefers this one. Well, anyway, back to my earlier point is that they're, you know, this faster barrack stim medevac is just so, like, it's so good because, you know, not only of its timing and its control that it can give you, properly controlled the medevacs, but it can give you 2 different options of a follow-up, whether a tank push or a 3rd CC in a macro game. Which is why I think a lot of people like to use it, and it's kind of becoming the old standard, you know, Hellion 3rd CC build that you could teach to a bronze player, and they could use that same build back in Wings of Liberty every single match, which is odd to think of, but at least versus Zergan versus Protoss, and they'd be fine. They wouldn't really have to learn anything else, except, you know, don't dead all-ins. But this is still going to get, like, faster speed, obviously, than something of a 1-1-1 opener into Banshees or those Hellions I was talking about, because some people do still go for Hellion macro builds, not Hellion Hellbat all-ins. Those are always so funny to see, because I think they're bad, but, you know, these are, you know, Korean, European pro gamers who are doing it, so it can't be that bad. But I still think that they're kind of weird to see. So it's not like that, but it's not the middle-of-the-road, faster tech, bit more units as the other build I'm talking about. And 3rd hatchery's gonna come down here. GameTime, last game, he was the one that kind of... It's not that he misread the scenario, just that he actually didn't know the scenario at all because he didn't have much scouting, so usually that's where you see people go ahead and go for much faster overlord speed, much more consistently than ever before. I think it's a great thing to add on. I don't think it really takes that much away from your early game / mid game to get that upgrade, but some people would disagree. I think the Overlord scouting that it grants you is just usually so useful. But GameTime's not going that direction, and he's not suiciding his Overlord in yet to see what's going on. Just all the barracks, that's it. That's dangerous, you know? The medevacs are going to be coming out in time with Stim, so it still kind of works out like that build. A +1's going to be accompanying it much earlier. And it is just this one single engineering bay, by the way, so again, I'll have to see if he adds on 2 more barracks or a 3rd CC. But the medevacs are actually boosting past an Overlord, which kind of sucks. This actually feels more like... It's still not the Heart of the Swarm build, because you always want Hellions on Heart of the Swarm, but anyway. So he sees 2 medevacs, and you see 2 medevacs like that, you just gotta know there's either brains in them, or shortly, you know, ahead or behind them. So he's gotta get Lings out right now. He certainly has enough Queens, damn! Wow. This is kind of the way that we've been seeing Koreans mold what they've been learning from the Europeans into their own style, so they still go middle lane bling, but they add in so many queens as if, you know, Snoot was playing with Roach Ravager. Unfortunately, did lose, I think, 3 right there. Yeah, and his lings were starting to come in one at a time, which is going to be very, very bad. Reinforcements are only just now trickling in. He did have to build a reactor. He is building 2 more barracks instead of a 3rd CC, so just piling on the aggression. You know, remember, he piled on the aggression, or tried to anyways, on Galactic Process off of a 3rd CC, and in doing so, just kind of lost chunks of units at a time, didn't really look so good. He's got to be wary of not repeating that same mistake with a bit faster pressure with a different build. So for instance, if he sees a golden opportunity, he better be damn sure it's actually a golden opportunity, and he'll probably still, even if it is a great opportunity, want to wait for combat shields. To not do so against Maskling Queen is just, I feel, really asking for a lot of pain. Especially as the upgrades finish up, he will be at an upgrade disadvantage. Unfortunately, medevac production, I think, was halted just because of a supply block or miss macro. He's only building 1 at a time from reactor, so I think it's going to be miss macro. A little unfortunate there, because he, you know, you can't stim unless you have at least 1 medevac, and even then, only 1 medevac is not so good. Tanks, again, they should be focus firing on those banelings, but he's more focused on the marine control. But good news, GameTime messed up his micro and let all of his banelings hit the tank anyways, so while it killed the tank, as opposed to just dying, that still wasn't the best use of all of his banelings, and GameTime is feeling a lot of pressure. He's trying to get up to a Spire. He got a 4th hatchery already, so I think that's pretty damn greedy of him. Something that he was allowed to get away with in Galactic Process, but not so much here. And Pokebunny, if he continues, if he controls his army correctly, which he's definitely been messing up here and there, I think could overrun GameTime. Queens are no longer very scary. They really don't have that many transfuses. They're not target firing the medevacs that much anymore either, which is really their main use here. They did buy time for the banelings to finish. Pokebunny's getting a little too far forward here. That's only 4 banelings. They could be focus fired by anything here, actually. The Marines could also focus fire them, or they could just split. Pokebunny gets ready to. Medevac's starting to move those tanks forward, and GameTime is now going through a bit of a choke to take on this army, and that's really, really bad. Pokebunny is starting to make this work. He's going to be supply blocked, so might as well throw down the 3rd CC, I suppose, but he definitely has enough army, I think, right here to make this work. GameTime's going to try and get Mutas out to kill the tanks, to give his banelings a bit more of an opportunity, but there's no banelings to give an opportunity too. Pokebunny brings it back 2-2. See? Fear Dragon knew what he was talking about. He knew that they were evenly matched. It just took Pokebunny 2 games to really figure out what his groove was. And I think he really found it too. Like I said, like those 2 first games were such extremes. You tested extremes, didn't work, so kind of go more middle of the road for once. And maybe more confident builds too. And GameTime, well, GameTime just gotta kind of take the aggression more seriously, I think, is the main problem here. So Pokebunny, I think, is adapting really, really great. I think GameTime, it's now his turn to step it up and adapt. Unfortunately, it's really hard to adapt on such a weird map as the final game map is Dasan Station. And you just kind of throw out the last 4 games, which is really unfortunate. You've started to really collect yourself, collect your intel, you know, whatever. I don't know if you're more of a feeling type of player or you're more like, you know, thinking type of player, but either way, you've learned something from the last 4 games, and then you get into this 5th game, and it's just so different than everything else. I mean, if you had Arena in the map pool as well, maybe that kind of gives you a hint as to how they're going to play on a very aggressive potential map, but even then, Arena isn't as bad as Dasan Station. Pokebunny needs 30 seconds. No problem. I can talk about things. I have lots of things. Talk about things all day. I was watching Grace Helbig. I don't know if y'all knew who that is. Daily Grace. Yeah. Thing about her is I follow her on Twitter and like on Tumblr and stuff, and she'll post YouTube videos 3-4 times a week, I think. And I'll see them, and I won't click on them. But if I ever do click on them, it's like a black hole. I watch like every single Daily Grace video after I click that first video. She's hilarious. Really fun. And the way that she makes awkward things not awkward by being so awkward is really, I'm quite envious of that, you know? Because there's people that will make awkward situations go away because they're so smooth and like they have a lot of like emotional intelligence and stuff like that. That's not me. I'd prefer to just make offhand jokes or be stupid and silly to, you know, dissolve the tension. That's what I look up to her for. Yep. Here we go. Dasan Station. Dasan. Dasan. Dasoff. Dasan. Dasoff. Alright. It's the final game. Oh my god. Dasan Station, please. In the top-ish, middle-ish, whatever left, it is the yellow Zerg. Game time. In the bottom right-ish, middle-ish position, it is the purple Terran Pokebunny. Give it a good old prayer, you know, before things really start. Now, I gotta say, any race can do weird shit on this map, but the general consensus is that Terrans have a bit more of a fun time on this map. You can kind of see why. You know, they're that kind of middle-of-the-road race to begin with. At least that's all I've always viewed them. They can have early game aggression with multiple barracks, they can have late game turtling and, you know, abusive siege tank positioning and liberators and mech, you know, if you really want to go that direction. I think they've always been pretty good at that mid-range kind of choosing and adapting and whatnot, which is why I chose them after playing Zerg for 2 years. I felt Zerg was too constricted, especially back in the Broodlord Infestor area. But anyway. But yeah, they have these siege tanks that can abuse these chokes. Their pushes are still pretty time-based and map time-based in that, you know, they don't have Zerglings that can just run across Frost and kind of not make it that important that Frost is a big map. They still have these kind of slow Marines, often not stimming. They have tanks that still have to be sometimes even walked over because they don't have medevacs yet, depending on what type of push they do. So they kind of favor this really short distance from here to here. And it's really dangerous of game time to go for a hatchery on the natural because of all the things I just mentioned. You know, Pokebunny sees this, and maybe he was planning on doing a fast third CC, which would be not the best in my opinion, but maybe he was. But now he changes his mind because he's like, oh, you went for a gold base? Like, that ain't gonna happen, man. Especially since I didn't go for a gold base. So it's like back to one of those, like, I'm not gonna let you get away with this. And you know, besides the feeling of I shouldn't let you get away with this, there's also, like, literally, you don't have to let them get away with this. You have these tank pushes, you have all this wide open area for, like, Banshees and Liberators. Well, not necessarily Liberators, but, you know, Banshees can roam around, medevac drops can roam around. Yes, Liberators can also, whoopsie, can also abuse chokes like this. It's asking for danger, but I did start off this big rant with any race can do weird shit. So I do want to note that Zerg also can do roach rushes to really throw off a Terran, you know, even if they have to go up a ramp, they bring the overload over here, bam, your supply depot's down, it sucks, you gotta build a bunker, it sucks, blah blah blah. They can do, like, early Ling shenanigans as well, but it's not as effective versus Terran as, you know, versus Protoss or versus Zerg. And, Protoss, you know, if they were even in this series, they also have, you know, the mothership core pylon thing, they can probably do that on this map, and actually, I wonder what Protoss can do. Protoss oracles are basically already in proxy, if you put it here. But yeah, I am going to give this a little bit more to the Terran. Especially properly controlled, you know? Like, a medevac tank combo with a Liberator, like, in the hands of a really good Terran just won't ever die. And unfortunately, in the hands of a defensive good Terran player, won't ever die and will kill all of your units. So game time going for a Ling Roach all-in the truest form, I don't know about this. Like, oh god. He gets Lings in the back, though. That happened, and that's actually going to screw a lot of things up. The supply depot was down, so while the tank should be focus firing on, like, a clump of units, it's instead going to be hitting against a concave of units, and he's trying to repair it. No, don't repair the tank, just pick up the damn tank. And even though Pokebunny almost lost this game because he was a little over-eager with the push-out, and he let his natural get harassed, tanks are good. Tanks are like super good, and game time going for a true all-in, I don't think was the way to go. I mentioned the roach harassment, you know, the Ravagers, and that's fine and dandy. That's something you saw in Arena all the time into a macro game, but for like a real all-in, he would have had to surprise Pokebunny, or hope to God Pokebunny didn't go for a tank push, which most Terrans do. I don't know, man. I think Pokebunny's got a really good opportunity here. Game Time's going to try and get a third base as well as a lair, probably for Aspire, actually, to take down the Medivacs, take down the tanks, but once again, Ling's get into that natural base. Pokebunny, please. He doesn't have a lot of production, you know, he went for a 2-1-1, but, you know, only one of those things has a reactor, so he has to kind of pull back, and that Ling run by might have just saved Game Time's natural at the gold base. He even built a bunker, so it wouldn't happen again. Oh, the feeling you try so hard and it doesn't even matter. That's weird. Well, Stim is about to finish. Well, about to is a very loose way of saying it. It's about halfway done. Oh my god, he's really got to put a wall back here. I mean, he's trying to, but this is what happens when you put rocks right here, David Kim. Just throwing it out there. No, I'm just kidding. I don't think he actually had any part in that. But that was a good move by Game Time, you know? Like, take a little bit away from the fact that his all-in really didn't work and go to this clever little tactic. That was good of him to do. First of all, if there's any aggression, if there were Hellions, you can't defend your natural if you don't break down the mineral lines. It's actually kind of silly. Even the queens have a tough time with it. So it's good that he broke those down and that he's using this counterattack to its fullest potential. Unfortunately, it gives away the Lings. He wasn't expecting the Marines there. The Marines were there because they weren't helping out the main push, which I think is fine. Wait until you have Stim anyways, and then do the full push that I think Pokebunny's really wanting to do. Like, he wants to end this game. He know he did really well defending. It's just now it's a question of how well was that harassment, and like, did that really screw up my timings? Because Pokebunny, I mean, I don't think he lost 17 workers, which is quite a bit. It's only a 7-minute game right now, but I think there's definitely been, yeah, a lot of situations where he's not rebuilding the workers. Like, he should be probably back up to 30 by now, just replacing the CVs as they died. But instead, he's maybe looking too far into this all-in. Like, it's turning into an all-in, too, where originally I think it could just be a pressure. But now it's like, oh, if you lose this, you don't have a lot of production back at home. But that is Stim Marines and a lot of tanks, barely any Ravagers to stop those tanks from firing either. Because, you know, it's one thing for the Ravager to kill the tank, which is ideal, but it's another one to have them pick it up and move it around. Just a little bit extra. And he just doesn't have any of that with only one Ravager. The tanks don't have to be afraid at all. And I think Pokebunny just recovered this best of 5. It's great for him. He wants to go to Montreal. He's looking for a bit of extra cash, and this would be $75 in his pocket, only $25 to Game Time. And that match is going to go down, and while the drone count isn't that bad at 40, and he has this like other natural going here. You know, and there's a whole argument about the minerals gonna mine out eventually anyway. He didn't just lose a base. He also lost a good chunk of his army, and that's always where the line is drawn, you know? Because you'll see a lot of games where they'll give up a base and they'll still recover because they didn't give away any units to do so. They just lost 300 minerals, and that was it. Not so for Game Time. Game Time has a lot of roaches, but unfortunately they're going to funnel into a choke, and there are now 4 tanks blasting away, plus the Stim Marines. They don't have combat shields yet, but they are just so much damage. Oh, 5 tanks. I can count. Counting is good. It's a good skill to have. But anyways, I mean, he's rallying everything forward, so eventually he'll have 6, and then 7, and that's how counting works. Game Time, oof. Game Time looked like he was going to take this easy 3-0, and Pokebunny just found the secret ingredient. Made it work. So congrats to him. And that times out pretty perfectly to when I said the next best of 5 would start, so kudos to me this time. Hey. I just gotta get Puck on here. So while I get that set up, we're gonna go to a quick break. Reminder that if you're in the North America, or if you're in the United States, or North America, actually, I think, for the giveaway. If you're in North America, then definitely type Ting contest and fill out your bracket predictions for this weekend's Ting semifinals and finals. Very, very exciting. See you in 2 minutes.